Then something happened. Donald Trump. All was proceeding as planned, and then he gets elected, and that changes the entire game. He blew everything up, whether he knew it or not. The left has been using the word revolution a lot lately, and you better start taking them at their word. It's not hyperbole, it's not a new fancy word. It's the same revolution that revolution has always meant. Kerry, while attending a panel for the Alliance of Democracy, said this.
So we have major challenges, and if people don't have adequate access to the ballot, that's the stuff on which revolutions are built.
Don't have access to the dollar. Kerry was addressing a question about the American system in general, and threw that line in.
It's interesting. Access to the ballot. People have access to Walmart, they have access to Costco, access those Home Depot. How is it that all of these people have access to everything they need? How many people are just sitting at home with all of their needs being brought to them? Almost none. Yet now they can't go vote. They need access to a mail-in ballot.
About not having access to vote. He goes on, quote, if you begin to deny people the capacity of your democracy to work, even the founding fathers wrote in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, we have a right, an inherent right, to challenge that. Wow. But for
yeah, that is exactly correct. So for every person that was told they can't go back to work, they're going to get fined, they're going to have their power shut off, they're going to have their business license taken away. Do you mean that right to work? That right to be a free and sovereign citizen of the United States? John Kerry? Really? It's just fascinating how they use these words. He's not retarded. He is, but he's evil. But the right to work, and if we are not allowed the access for that right to work, we should basically revolt. Not because somebody died in the hands of the police, which they were charged, but literally having our governors dictate who is essential like that phrase still boggles my mind that people allowed that to happen. It stuns me to the very core. I've said it before. I remember, I think it was March 20th, and Shelley asked, are you allowed to go to work? I was like, allowed to go to work? What do you mean? Is there somebody you should ask? I'm like, me? God? What do you mean, ask? Well, there are people that are told they can't go to work. I'm like, nah, I don't know who they are, but I don't care. Nobody's going to prevent me from going to work unless they come into my office, handcuff me, and take me out. But you will not keep me from going to work, and I'll take the fine. But I'm not gonna be in jail. I'm not gonna be in prison at my home because some bureaucrat is choosing what my rights are. That's tyranny.
All is not lost. He's encouraged by something.
What encourages me is this incredible spontaneous reaction to the killing of George Floyd by those police officers has unleashed a torrent of awareness that people see this unfairness now, and it's, I think, becoming a voting issue.
It's becoming a voting issue. Wow, that...
A torrent of awareness. So if we show John Kerry all the videos of innocent people getting beaten to death, businesses getting destroyed, that's a torrent of awareness. I'd like to see his thesaurus. Jag-off.
Encouraging to him, a torrent of awareness, and the deaths in the street. I think John Kerry knows exactly what he's doing here because he's seen it before. In fact, he was part of it during the Obama administration in 2013 and 14, but it wasn't here. It was in Russia and Ukraine. I want to show you a photo of John Kerry strolling through Red Square in Moscow back in 2013. Interesting time in Eastern Europe. Color revolutions were breaking out all over. When that photo was taken, Russia itself was at the tail end of their own revolution called the Snow Revolution. It kicked off after a disputed election. It's going to sound very familiar in about 6 weeks. And it was started by online bloggers who were suddenly very savvy on organizing massive protests using in Facebook and social media. Wow, where have we heard this before? Oh yeah, the Middle East, the Arab Spring, civil society 2.0, and tech camps. See if this also sounds familiar. Russia immediately banned USAID and then kicked out the George Soros Foundation. No, I'm definitely not saying anything positive about Russia. After knowing what we know about the Obama State Department now, what they were doing with Soros in Ukraine, I can understand why Putin was just a little pissed. But let's go back to that photo of John Kerry in Moscow. The man to Kerry's right is Ambassador Michael McFaul. Important. He was a Stanford academic that became the first non-career diplomat to ever to ascend to that post. McFaul took office right as the Snow Revolution was kicking off. Well, let's just say the Russians were highly suspicious. After arriving in Moscow, McFaul gave an interview to a Russian outlet explaining how he was different than other Russian diplomats. Quote, most of the specialists on Russia are diplomats, specialists in security, arms control, Russian culture. I'm neither. I can't quote anything by heart. I'm not an expert in democracy, anti-dictatorial, revolutionary revolutions. Wait a minute, hang on just a second. He's what? I am an expert on democracy, anti-dictatorial movements, and revolutions. Wow, kind of an odd thing for a newly minted ambassador to say once arriving in a country.